Non-spolier here. I'm here today to do a non-spoiler review of two books. They're both Owl Crate books. The first book is Of Fire and Stars by Aubrey Colhurst, and this was the December book, and the theme for that box was epic. And the book that came in the January box, which was Classic Remix, which I didn't get this from them because I got this at New York City Comic Con, but that book was Roseblood by A.G. Howard. So I'm gonna give my brief thoughts about both of these books and say buy and borrow and what I thought about them, and then that will be it. The first book I'm going to talk about in chronological order is Of Fire and Stars by Aubrey Colhurst. If you don't know anything about this book, it does have a lesbian or gay protagonist, and it takes place in a fantasy world, and I think sometimes it is very, very hard to find books that don't just have a focus on the gay and lesbian experience. That is great, but I think that we need to start normalizing these characters and putting them in fantasy situations or sci-fi situations, and it's becoming it's been happening more often. I just want that to be like the norm. I want to see stories about LGBT characters in every situation, not just stories where that is the situation that the characters are in. But this book takes place in a kingdom where this girl named it's Dina and Marina. Mara and Dina. So Mara is Dina is the girl that comes to this new place, and she winds up having to marry Mara's sister. So Dina's gonna marry Dina's gonna marry Mara's brother. And it's like an arranged marriage, and it's the only thing that can keep this bunch of cities in, keeps the alliance, basically. But there's a lot of other things going on. In addition to that thing, there is these magic fearing people that basically they think are trying to overtake their thing, and it's unbeknownst to everybody, Mara is a magician, and magicians are very, very, people are afraid of them, and they don't like magic. So that starts out that's one of Mara's secrets, but it ultimately becomes a lot more politically based. It's a very, very politically charged mystery. It's a politically charged mystery, but it's also a lot about court life. And then the twist of Mara and Dina becoming romantically involved is a slow burn relationship. It is so interesting. I really, really enjoyed it. I became so emotionally invested in these characters, and I was teased, or I was told that there was a book 2 to this. There currently is not a book 2, so I would go in reading this book as a standalone. But I got to the end and I was like, oh great, book 2, when are we getting book 2? And she doesn't actually have a book 2. So the ending is left very, very wide open. I think there easily could be a second book, but there isn't one right now. But I really just love the relationship between Dina and Mara. I thought it was amazing. I love all the other characters that you met, and there was so many other instances of LGBT relationships seen in this story. There was some that were positive and some that weren't positive, which I think is kind of what Aubrey Colhurst was trying to say. There was also things about magic from other characters. It was such a unique story, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I think that the focus on the relationship. Now, this is a great slow burn relationship, and I think I really enjoyed it. But this book is so much more than just about an LGBT character. The fantasy world is really, really cool. The characters that you meet are fascinating, and it is a romance, but there's so much else going on. So if you haven't read an LGBT story, and you really do like fantasy with kind of unique worlds, I do recommend you read this. I actually really, really enjoyed this book, and I went in a little bit hesitant, but I really enjoyed it, and I loved the characters, and I hope we get a book 2, because I think that to see what happens next would take the story into a totally different direction. So if you haven't given it a shot, I would recommend you read it. I know it was on Kindle for $1.99 recently. I don't know if it's still on, but it was when I saw it on Twitter. So you can check that out. But I would, right now, if I was going to say, I would probably say either get it on your Kindle or rent it, just because you don't know if there's going to be a book 2. But I really, really enjoyed it. Or, if it's possible, it has an audiobook, I would even listen to the story again, just because I really, really enjoyed it. But those are my thoughts on Of Fire and Stars, and this was in the Epic box from December. And then the next book is the January book, which is Roseblood by A.G. Howard. Those that don't know, A.G. Howard is also also the author that writes the Splintered series. I will admit this cover really drew me. I love this cover. It's stunning. So it follows this character named Rune, and has kind of a difficult life. She has this power, I'll say, that when she sings, she can like suck the life out of people. It's kind of a weird musical power. And her mom is kind of at a loss, doesn't know what to do with her. So she sends her to the school that was inspired by the Phantom of the Opera. So that's where this school starts. And she starts thinking she's going crazy because people are playing pranks on her. But little does she know, the Phantom of the Opera, the real Phantom of the Opera, is actually in the basement of her school. And his apprentice, Thorn, is tasked to getting her to come and come and be a part of their family, basically, is what he wants to do. It is a really, really good story. I think that the creepy ambiance that was developed by the story was really, really unique. I love the unique takes. I think that Classic Remix is perfect. I think that that is a perfect way to describe this book because it takes the Phantom of the Opera myth and kind of turns it on its head. And it has a little bit more magic to it and a lot more fantasy stuff, but I really, really enjoyed it. And it builds the character of Rue into such a unique character. I'm actually super glad that this book was a standalone because I think it's a perfect standalone book. It had a very solid beginning, middle, and end, and I don't think I would have liked it if it was a series because the story was just it worked. And I think that it ended great, and I thought that there was no big, there was nothing I wanted to know more of about these characters, but I would definitely say I would probably rent it. I wouldn't probably buy it. As much as I love this cover, so if you happen to be able to get this cover as like a paperback one day in the future, it's just so pretty. But yeah, I did enjoy the story. It wasn't my favorite. I think I gave it 3 stars, but it was a fast-paced read. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to know where these characters were going to go. So if you like, I'm trying to think, it's not like super creepy, but it does have a creep factor. I'll say that, especially at the start of it. But the fantasy and magical stuff interturned into the myth is so interesting. So I would highly recommend if you like her writing style, if you like Splinter, I would check it out because it's kind of like in the same vein. There's a lot of madness conspiracies, especially in regards to her. And there's a lot of stuff about the family and what type of person she is, and a lot of stuff going on with Thorn, and you learn a lot about Thorn's past and how Thorn became to be the Phantom of the Opera's apprentice, and then you also learn more about Phantom of the Opera and his relationship with Christine, which I thought was super interesting, and then I read the author's note and realized how realistic that could actually be. So overall, I was really, really impressed with it. I really, really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys will give both these books a shot. If you guys have not been subscribing to Owl Crate, I highly recommend you do. It is like my funnest part of the month. I love getting book boxes from them. So I hope you guys like my review, and I'll talk to you guys later.